Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most consequential Dragon Ball interview in quite some time. Akio Iyoku just teased the next Dragon Ball anime. We'll be talking about that as well as how involved Toriyama actually was in this series and why that's important we'll get into. Also, Super Saiyan 4 finally got an actual origin reveal. We finally know where it came from and exactly how Goku accesses it, which was a hot topic back when Daima was premiering and people still debate about it till this day. No longer. We have a concrete answer for that, and we'll be getting into the Gekishin Squadra Backlash. Fans are furious. First off, for the Daima section, we'll mainly be going off of two interviews included in the Blu-ray booklet for Dragon Ball Daima. This is with the series director Komaki and the director Yashima. And the other interview we'll be going over is with Iyoku. So again, these are both included in the booklet for the Dragon Ball Daima Blu-ray, which was only released in Japan so far. This released a while back, but a lot of people didn't release all of this information for whatever reason, but we finally have it out now. This is courtesy of, let me make sure I credit them properly here, Griffin Station, which everything here is translated by Vinixis, otherwise known as Enomis on Twitter, so go ahead and check them out. Alright, let's start off with the Iyoku interview. Again, we're not going to be going over the whole interview because we would be here all day, but I wanted to go through what I thought was the most important stuff, which is the Toriyama stuff and the Super Saiyan 4 stuff, and the tease for the next anime. So, let's start off with the big thing. Please tell us the background of how the project Dragon Ball Daima was born. Iyoku says, "At first, we hadn't planned to have Toriyama-sensei create the story. It was still around the time when we were producing the film Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and we had no intention of going so far as to ask him for a series as well. This is very important. Talking about Dragon Ball Super Superhero, this is very important for what we talk about next, so let's just focus on the interview, and then I'll get back to how it's important for the next anime. When, as a proposition, we consulted him about wanting to do a completely new anime series. It was decided that he would make it just the very tip of the story, and as we gradually kept meeting, in the end it turned into him creating the whole story. Now, all this stuff about him getting involved as the project came along, we knew that, but what we didn't know, and what we probably could have assumed, but they never really outright confirmed, was that they were working on it at the same time that they were producing the film Dragon Ball Super Superhero. So they were basically juggling two projects back to back, a movie and a 20-episode anime series. And then Toriyama got further involved on this anime series as development on the movie came along. So we can know, we most likely can assume Toriyama was very involved in the development for Dragon Ball Super Superhero, as we all know, and then he got further involved into the development of Dragon Ball Daima. This could also be why he decided not to include Gohan that much in Dragon Ball Daima, considering Gohan was basically a character that he was asked to include into Superhero, and we all know he loves Piccolo. So maybe this was basically him going, okay, well, I just did Gohan in the superhero movie, so for Daima, I'm going to include Piccolo, Bulma, Vegeta, and Goku. His favorite characters, especially Piccolo, his favorite. Vegeta, I believe, is one of his least favorite characters at one point, but I think he's basically become one of his favorite characters from what I'm understanding. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So, very interesting stuff here. And then he later goes on to expand with the question, through what kind of exchanges did you build the story together with Toriyama-sensei? Iyoku explains, there was even a period when we were in contact almost every day. In response to Toriyama-sensei's ideas, I told him everything I thought and tried to offer alternatives rather than just impressions. And when he would take up one of those suggestions, he would return something beyond what had been proposed. Because we went through such twists and turns, the initial concept and the final scenario ended up being quite different. In particular, the latter half took time because we repeatedly thought it was through. During the story structuring period, he also drew many illustrations in parallel of characters and the like, so our understanding of the setting deepened. Very interesting stuff here. So again, just elaborating on how involved Toriyama was. He was bouncing ideas off of Iyoku. We know this from the Dragon Ball Super Superhero stuff and Dragon Ball Super Broly and things like that. Iyoku was Toriyama's right-hand guy, but he was also somebody giving Toriyama ideas that he could work with, and he produced some of the best ideas. I mean, Gohan Beast, whether you like it or hate it, a lot of people just like that Gohan finally got to shine again, so that's very interesting stuff there. Now, this part is very interesting because this is where we're going to be talking about how involved Toriyama was in the eyes of Yashima and Komaki, who are the supervising director, I believe, right? Oh, series director and just regular director. So let's go ahead and get into this. Question is, how did you feel when you first read Toriyama Sensei's original plot and story? Yashima said, I felt surprise and excitement at seeing a brand new Dragon Ball the world hadn't yet seen. At the first handoff, again, this is translated from Japanese, very good translations, but sometimes I'm a little caught off guard with how the Japanese phrase their sentences, and then when they're translated into English, I think some of that structure is still there. But of course, it's translated, and they do a good job translating it, but it's still a little bit odd for me to read it sometimes, so I apologize for that. At the first handoff, we only had the journey portion, and because Dragon Ball always surprises viewers in a good way, I was thrilled to imagine what might come next. Kamaki says, it wasn't just a plot outline. Again, this is very cool. The dialogue was written down to the last detail. There were musical notes and Neva's singing lines, and the Majin Buu greeting, Nacha, was something Toriyama Sensei himself devised. His spirit of service came through everywhere, and the idea that there's a convenience store in the Great Demon Realm really shocked me. Under his pen, the realm doesn't seem ghastly, but oddly familiar. That's so Toriyama Sensei and so much fun. Each of us on the staff, Yashima says, already carried childhood images of Dragon Ball, but during production we worked hard to unify the Dragon Ball-ness by following Sensei's stories. So, this is amazing. So, everybody, like the director, they always confuse me, director and series director. So, what's the director versus series director? Maybe this Yashima is like the storyboard director or something? I'm not exactly sure. But basically, what I find so interesting here is the information about him basically writing so much of the story. So I think that's fascinating. Like, just go ahead, write all the story, and then they're just talking about it, and they are so impressed, which, why would you not be? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that makes sense. So yeah, following Sensei's story, again, he's just like all over this series, and I think that's cool. So whether you like Dragon Ball Daima or hate it, Toriyama was all over this. So some people say that Toriyama lost his edge as he got older, things like that. But I always enjoyed Dragon Ball Daima for like how classic it felt. So it's just nice knowing just how involved Toriyama was. It wasn't just some gimmick, some marketing gimmick that they put his name all over it. He actually was deeply involved. Now this is where things might get spicy or dicey, however you want to say it. This Super Saiyan 4 origin reveal. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. Question is, the Super Saiyan 4 transformation drew huge buzz. What were the directing cues? And then the answer is a little bit more than just the directing cue. It's actually just like lore. Kamaki says, in episode 18, when Goku Mini becomes Super Saiyan 4, it's a case where his ability is drawn out by Neva, so we aimed for it to look not like psyching himself up, but like Neva's ability enters inside Goku and blossoms into Goku. So the interpretation is that the approach is different from when, after returning to his original form, he psychs himself up and transforms into Super Saiyan 4. In addition, Super Saiyan 4 carries an image of red, so we wanted to add red elements even to the Kamehameha, which is usually blue. We proceeded cut by cut while discussing with the filming team and the animators how to add it effectively. As a result, I think it became an expression that, while orthodox, has originality unique to this work. As a new attempt, we also wreathed the Kamehameha in flames when Goku Mini became Super Saiyan 4. I hope people will take another look at the differences in the Kamehameha across each form. Now, I did make a video a while back before the final 2 episodes of Dragon Ball Daima aired, where I basically explained this, and then after the Dragon Ball Daima finale aired, Goku said that he felt like it was always there, and he basically trained for it. So there was a misunderstanding. So what it appears, according to the team behind the series, is that Neva drew out the power just by entering Goku, and basically activating it. And then Goku, from that point on, is able to activate it on his own free will. So it would have been cool if they explained that Goku can only use it whenever he's in the Demon Realm, just to make it make more sense. But again, there's always contradictions in Dragon Ball. At this point, who cares? The important thing is that Goku is able to access it on his own, but he wasn't able to unlock it on his own, if that makes sense. Neva basically unlocked it and allowed him to use it as Goku Mini in episode 18. And then in episode 19, Goku was able to, with the ability unlocked, transform into it all on his own. Now let's get into what I think is the most consequential bit of the interview with the tease. Lastly, please say a word to all Dragon Ball fans. Iyoku, the madman himself, says, did you enjoy watching Dragon Ball Daima? Following this work, of course, we are currently working hard to move various things forward. The Dragon Ball series will continue from here on as well, so everyone, by all means, please keep looking forward to it. Now, if that's not a tease for the next anime, I don't know what is. Now, whether it's going to be an anime film or an anime series, they are definitely cooking. Now, if you guys kept up with this entire saga, I basically talked about how it does appear that Iyoku is winning the copyright battle. Now, by winning the copyright battle, it does not mean that he actually owns Dragon Ball. Again, this is going through Griffin Station from his booklet, but this part is translated by Entaru_DB on Twitter, where he says, "Not surprising, but the Daima booklet also lists Capsule Corporation Tokyo under cooperation. Copyright still as usual, though, Bird Studio, Shueisha, and Toei Animation." Now, he says also because up here, they talked about how Gekishin Squadra makes no mention of Capsule Corporation Tokyo on the official site, but he can imagine them appearing in the supervision section of credits again, like with Sparking Zero. And just to expand on this point, this is the original post Antoru_DB made when they talked about Capsule Corporation Tokyo being under supervision. And then for Sandland, which was released before this whole saga began, it was still Akio Iyoku under IP Creative Consultant, which is very interesting. So, what does all of this actually mean? This means, of course, Iyoku is winning and he is cooking. He doesn't need to own Dragon Ball to supervise it. He was always Akira Toriyama's right-hand guy. For all we know, behind the scenes, he's still working with his estate and basically managing it, maybe with his family, who knows. His family wouldn't be too involved creatively because I don't believe they were ever involved creatively with his ventures. Again, I think that's what Iyoku's role was. And if you kept up with this whole saga, you would know that Iyoku created Capsule Corporation Tokyo alongside Toriyama and was the one suggesting that they actually make a new anime to the actual copyright holders in charge at the time. And they were not all about it. They just wanted to have the manga going all on its own. So Iyoku broke off, founded Capsule Corporation Tokyo, and made a Sandland. Well, actually, he made the Sandland anime without the consent of the people at Shueisha, and I think that's what originally caused a rift between him and the people at Shueisha. But he always had Toriyama's best interests at heart, and now he is wanting to move forward with the Dragon Ball franchise, which makes sense. Now, what in all of this implies that they're working on the next anime? Well, it's simple. A while back, in one of those interviews that they did on one of those radio stations, Iyoku kind of semi-implied that they were working on something, but it was more of a tease. I think this is more than a tease. This is just a straight-up confirmation because they're talking about the anime in the context of anime. Did you enjoy watching Dragon Ball Daima? Following this work, we are currently working hard to move various things forward. So that's obviously them talking about different projects, whether it's the anime and things like that. The Dragon Ball series will continue from here on as well. So that's very important, the Dragon Ball series. So I think by series, he's talking about the main series. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, all of those things. The big Dragon Ball anime. So everyone, by all means, please keep looking forward to it. Whether that manifests as a 20-episode anime series again, or a movie, who knows. Now, some people may be thinking, oh, but it's too soon. This is where this interview comes into play, which was right here. They were working on Dragon Ball Daima at the same time they were working on Dragon Ball Superhero. Of course, Daima was way earlier in development by the time Dragon Ball Superhero was actually released, or at this point they were still working on Superhero, and Dragon Ball Daima just began development, but it still stands to reason that they could be in a similar situation now, where they already have several projects that they're working on, and then they maybe choose one project and go all in on it. That's some speculation, but all we know for sure is that they are cooking. Now, does this mean we're going to see something soon? Most likely not. Keep in mind, it took a while before we saw Dragon Ball Daima, since we saw Dragon Ball Superhero. So maybe a year or two, who knows? Hopefully the manga comes back between then. We're not sure where the copyright battle is in terms of the manga stuff, but as of now, it appears that we got plenty of stuff with the anime development, kind of. We got like a tease for the anime, and then we have tons of video game news, so let's just go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so I wanted to do something fun while we're covering Gekishin Squadra. Let's talk about some of the buffs and the nerfs, and we will also talk about some of this backlash with this new season. So some of the buffs for Frieza First Form, his skill 1, Show Them Zarbon, had the cooldown reduced from 30 to 20 seconds. The cooldown reduction based on Zarbon's remaining HP upon retreat increased from 60 to 40 to 80 to 40%. The time to reach maximum range reduced from 5 to 3 seconds, and the effect of the strike defense down applied to enemies reduced from 100 to 50. And then skill 3, Imperial Decree, increased boost speed when Dodoria is enhanced from 200% to 250%, increased attack interval reduction when Zarbon is enhanced from 40% to 60%. For Piccolo, skill 1, Light Grenade, cooldown time reduced from 20 to 15 seconds, damage dealt increased. A lot of numbers here, but let's go ahead and break them down. 2,520 / 2,800 / 3,360 to 3,000 / 3,280 / 3,560. And then the Super Attack Special Beam Cannon had its maximum charge time reduction from 4 to 3 seconds. And then Son Goku Mini, very simple, had a damage increase from 33 to 41 on his rush attack. So I just wanted to go ahead and go through the patch notes real quick. Bug fixes, who cares about bug fixes? You guys don't even notice them half the time. Alright, now let's get into some of this exciting stuff. So, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, look at him. He looks absolutely amazing. He is a bit busted as well. Some people are saying it's pay to win because of the fact that he can use instant transmission, go to an enemy, and just absolutely demolish them. And I haven't tried this combination yet, but I would imagine if you pair Super Saiyan 3 Goku up with Baby, you would probably be unstoppable because of Baby's healing factor and things like that. So Baby, theoretically, Baby could like rush to an enemy base, use his, I think it's called the ultimate or something like that, where he basically explodes and recovers health, and then if he gets in a pinch, all Super Saiyan 3 Goku would have to do is teleport over to Baby. Baby could possess Super Saiyan 3 Goku. You would absolutely be unstoppable. I think that's a pretty fun combination, right? But there's a problem with all of this. The problem is that you have to pay for Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and apparently that's not very cool with people. And a lot of people are pointing that out, and they're thinking it's not very free-to-play friendly. So SPYYD3R on Twitter says Gekishin Squadra is not free-to-play friendly. I'm seeing a lot of silence on something that needs to be talked about, so let's go ahead and amplify your message. You get 50 gems from the free pass with 10 weekly gems. That will put you at 120 gems total at the end of the 55-week Season 1, not even close to 250 needed for Goku. Then he goes on to say, yes, there should be events coming during the season, but we don't know if those give gems. It could just be capsules and skins like the Twitch drops. Buying the Battle Pass gives an extra 150 gems, bringing the total to 270 gems, which is still tiny. Something needs to change. Alright, so my opinion on this is it is a free-to-play game, but it doesn't need to be friendly to players who don't pay. Let me explain. So, if you buy the Battle Pass, it gives you enough gems to basically buy the Battle Pass for the next season, or buy a character. With that said, you do need to buy the character. You can either use real-world money, or you can use the gems that you get from buying the Battle Pass with real-world money. So either way, you will need to end up buying the character. Now, how controversial is this? I'm not sure. I've always been pretty transparent. I'm not a big MOBA guy, but apparently other MOBAs don't do this. Apparently, Pokemon Unite only time gates them for a limited time as being purchasable with real-world money for like a week, and then after that, you don't have to use real-world money to play as them. However, with Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra, they'll be locked behind a paywall for the entirety of the season, and then I don't think there's an update on whether they'll be free after the season or not, or if you could just unlock them, because he's also not in the collection star thing. I forgot the name of it, but this thing here where you collect characters, and it basically, when you rank them up, it adds a star, and then it's basically like a second battle pass, but for ranking your characters up, and you can get characters that way. Now, I did buy Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and I am not disappointed with buying Super Saiyan 3 Goku. He is fun, he is cracked, he definitely needs nerfed, I feel like. but he is, like I said, a lot of fun. So, again, it is not free-to-play friendly, but it's a free-to-play game. I think it's not very surprising for that, especially with the low amount of the gacha mechanics in this game. Like the skins, you can buy the skins straight up. You don't need to like spend hundreds of dollars to try to get the skin that you want. You can just buy the skins. And I think it's neat that the random stuff that you get from the capsules are just emotes and things like that, which again, those are cool. That's a cool mechanic to have, but I think it's even cooler that when you look at the skins, you can just buy the skin you want, which I think most people would have like an actual value in the skins. So that is another perspective to have, is that, hey, you do have to buy the characters, but at least the skins aren't locked behind some random gacha mechanic. But there are the free-to-play skins, which are, and that's another thing that's weird, but I'm not too bummed by that either, because those are just like recolors that you can just get capsules for much easier than the yellow capsules. So I digress, kind of ranted a little bit here, but just trying to explain this minefield of controversy, because there are quite a few people upset about this Gekishin Squadra thing. Let me know what you guys think. Is this something that it's a deal breaker for you? You know, it's a bridge too far. They've crossed the line. I am not going to spend money on a character in Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra. You let me know what you guys think. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this one. I know it ran a little bit longer than my videos usually do, but we had a lot to talk about. I even got tongue-tied a little bit because I'm trying to talk a little bit faster because I don't want this video to be like 30 minutes long. So if you guys have something you want to say, please let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace off.